And we are live. Hello, Wendell with Bigfoot 911. Got our buddies Al. Say your
Santariga.
last.
Santariga, yeah.
uh, Glad to have you with me. It's an honor.
Oh, thank you. The honor is all mine. Thank you for inviting me on. Very honored. Whenever anyone invites me on, if I can do it, I try to do it. So thank you for having me.
I'm more than happy to have you. I did manage to get some of your stuff where I can present it.
Okay, I didn't really care if you could present it or not. I mean, as long as you've seen it so we could talk about it, you know what I mean? But if you can put it up, that's fine too. I mean, I don't have a problem with you putting anything up. So whatever I sent you, if I send it to you, you can put it up. You know what I mean?
Well, can you see what I got up now?
I don't see anything right now, no. But I'm not working on a laptop. I'm working on a phone. So
Okay, this is looks like an indention in the ground with another indention just above it.
yeah, that I'm assuming those are the Bigfoot nest that we found over at the sacred site. One of my locations is called the sacred site,
Right, I've heard
and
it before.
and we have a western ridge, and which is the ridge that the Sasquatch come down off of. Now, I've never gone up that ridge. I've made a deal with the clan that's there that I'm come here, you come see me. I don't want to go over this ridge. I don't want to go into your home range. But I've started having telepathic communication with a white Sasquatch named Alaric. And Alaric claims to be a king shaman and an ancient one. And in one of my dreams or visions or whatever you want to call it, he was waving me up the mountain, and I was like at the bottom of the western ridge. I was like, no, I can't come up here. I made a deal with the clan here. And he was like, no, I want you to come up. So I discussed it with my team psychic, and she said if Alaric is waving you up, then it's okay to go up. Because Alaric also came to my team psychic, who's in Arkansas, and Alaric also came to Chris Reinhardt, who's in Connecticut. So all three of us are seeing him, and so I called my cousin Sean up, and I said, "You want to go out?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we went up the mountain, from where we sit at base camp at the sacred site, the Western Ridge, it looks like it's the peak. But when we actually went up there, it went back like another 200 yards. Okay. And I was being pulled to the right. Sean was being pulled to the left. My cousin Sean is a young guy, 20 years old. He's very sensitive psychically. He's got Native American on his mother's side of the family as well. And we kind of met in the middle. And Sean was like, I think these are nests. And I go, yeah, I feel the same way. I think these are nests. And then the little voice in the back of my head said, go to the top of the ridge, the actual peak, and look down. And I had Sean stand like in front of one of the nests. And I went up to the ridge and I looked down and I noticed that these nests are set up almost like foxholes that the military would do, So no matter who was in the one behind, the one in front wasn't blocking their view.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter what nest you were in. You got a clear view of the whole ridge line from south to north. And that's what it really dawned on me. Like, yeah, these are nests. Like, I've found nests that look like giant eagle's nests on the ground. I found nests that look like structures, teepees, with sticks the size of maybe 6-inch in diameter logs weaved in the teepee, and I've seen what was in these nests as far as beddings, both of those nests. This particular nest, I could see what was in it because we were there at the end of October and they were just filled with hundreds and hundreds of leaves. So I couldn't really see what they were using for bedding, I would have loved to get there earlier in the year to see what was on the ground, what they were sleeping on. I think they're day nests. That's what I really think they are. On the other side of the ridge, I expected the mountain to just slope down to their home range. To my surprise, it's a cliff face that just drops straight down. And I was looking for game trails to get down there, but there's no game trails on either side of the ridge to get down there. So for me to get down there, I would have to propel down with a rope,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm not doing that, and I'm too old for that nonsense. And so I was pretty surprised by everything I found up top. I guess that's what we were being brought there to see. Like I
Well,
didn't
how did
think
you find that
I
spot?
didn't. Oh man, I found it a bunch of years ago. I was me and my cameraman Bill. We were taking a woman from England out to the location because she said, "Al, take me out. I want to see some Bigfoot, uh, uh, structures. We don't have Bigfoot in England." She said, "I want to see some Bigfoot structures." So it was a hot summer's day. We had a drought up here in New York that year, and I brought her into the swamp. The swamp was pretty dry at the time, and I was showing her structures like baby, what the juveniles would do, and the ones that the parents would do, and how the juveniles were copying the parents. And we were finding all these little rock figurines all over the woods. Um, and as we were going along the Appalachian Trail, there had been a fire over the winter, and it burned out a lot of brush. And my cameraman was filming, and about I don't know, a mile up the mountain, he seen looked like some more of those stone figurines. So I said, zoom in, let's get a good look at this thing. And when we zoomed in, it was this megalithic stone with hundreds of stones on top. So my cameraman says, "How are we going to get up there?" I go, "Follow me." And I pulled out my machete and I chopped my way up the mountain. And when I got to the top of the mountain, it turned out to be a high plateau. And it had these giant megalithic stones set up in an oval with hundreds and hundreds of small stones on top of it. And then there was arches and X's and bends and breaks and twists. And the energy up there was just so relaxing. It was ridiculous. And I said, okay, this is going to be my new spot. And I'm going to come back here and I'm going to start investigating here. And I've been investigating it for about 10 years now. And it never fails. I mean, every time we go there, something happens. And so we were up there. So I know last October, not last, October 2024, we had a special event where we had a solar eclipse and it was a solar eclipse and 0% of the moon on one particular day. And like 2 weeks later, there was going to be a lunar eclipse with a full moon at the end of the night. So I wanted to get out into the woods both particular times because it only happens like every 15 years or so. So my cousin and I went out there, and both times, the psychic told us what we were going to find and what we were going to experience. And we experienced everything from soup to nuts. But one of the times we were out there, she said, okay, the veil is wide open and this thing is going to come in. And she says, it looks like a bear Sqautch. It's got a head of a bear, but it's got the body of a Sasquatch. She says, it's not from our realm. Be very careful with this thing because it's dangerous. It doesn't know what humans are. So we were there, and, I don't look for or expect to find everything my psychic says because she tells us some stuff that's just off the charts. I mean, but at the end of the night, when we check all the boxes, she's right. But we were sitting there, and I had set up some glow sticks, and I had a yellow glow stick in front of me about 50 yards away. And at one point, I noticed three yellow glow sticks. So I says to my cousin Sean, come over here, tell me what you see. Sean leaned over and he says, I see three yellow glow sticks. I said, now explain to me why there's three yellow glow sticks in front of us when there was only one yellow glow stick in the color pack.
Yeah.
So Sean says, that's a good question. I said, Let's go see what it is. So as we got up, we put our headlamps on and we were walking over. And as we got closer, two of the yellow glow sticks blinked. So we stopped. I stopped because this was only the second time my cousin Sean's been out squatching. I stopped him. I said, okay, let's stop. Let's put the headlamps on flood. Let's get as much light over here as we can, because that particular night there was like 1% of the moon, so it was dark. And so we lit up the woods with these very powerful headlamps, and we started to walk closer. And as we started to get closer, two of the yellow glow sticks started to rise, and they're going up and up and up and up. And again, I stopped my cousin Sean, and we're just standing there. And I said, Sean, pull out your machete. He pulled out his machete. I pulled out my machete. And I said, we should start backing up. And when the yellow glow sticks finally got to the top, we were staring at a 10-foot, 2,000-pound bear squatch, is what my psychic called it. And it was looking at us, and we were looking at it. And he goes, what do we do? And I said, we're just going to back out slowly and carefully. We're not going to take our eyes off of this thing. And as we started to back out, as soon as we moved, it turned and it ran north up the woods. Now, I don't know if we freaked it out because maybe it's seen the headlamps as us having three eyes or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe you'd never seen anything with like three eyes. And I don't know if we freaked it out, but it turned and it ran up the woods. And on the north end of the woods, along the high plateau, is a 4-foot stone wall. And I just assumed it jumped over the wall and took down the trees on the other side, because it sounded like a bulldozer going through the woods. Okay. Now we got back to base camp. We called the psychic. The psychic says, okay, it's time for you guys to leave. I told you not to deal with this thing. It's dangerous. And so we're leaving. Now we're walking out that night. We're walking out. We hike back down to the Appalachian Trail. We're walking out along the lake. There's a 52-acre lake there. And as we're walking out by the lake, this creature must have came back. And it grabbed us maybe a 200-pound stone, I don't know, and it threw it at us. And this stone went over our heads, landed like 10 feet into the lake, and a splash went up about 20 feet in the air, you know? And I told my cousin Sean not to worry, it was just a beaver, you know, because he was from the city, he doesn't know. And I said, it's just a beaver, don't worry about it. And he's like, a beaver? And I go, yeah. He goes, that's a pretty big beaver. I go, yeah, it's a big beaver. But when we got back to the car, I told him the truth. I was like, yeah, that thing must have came back and threw a rock at us. So anyway, we go back. You know, I get this thing from Alaric. He tells me to come back. We go back. So we Chris Reinhardt says, hey, listen, do me a favor, do a Geiger counter reading at base camp and do a Geiger counter reading up on the ridge and see what the difference is. So I said, okay. And I did that. I sent you the photographs of the Geiger counter. There was hardly any radiation in base camp, and there was even less up on the ridge. But I took
0.5.
Yes. And so you know, I told Chris, no, there's nothing here. So then I remembered that the bear squatch, the last time we were there, ran and jumped over the wall. So I says to my cousin, let's go over to the wall and see what it did to the trees on the other side of the wall. Must have took them down because it sounded like a bulldozer. And when we got to the wall, there's a part of the wall that's got to be 10 feet long, and maybe the last 2 feet of the wall was destroyed. And this thing must have just went to jump over the wall, but didn't quite make it. Took the top half of the wall down, and it took 10 feet of wall down, and it pushed all the stones north towards the northern woods. And we took a lot of video of it. I sent you a video of my cousin Sean standing there. There are no stones on our side of the woods, which would be the south side of the wall. All the stones are on the north side. There are no down trees that would take this wall down. And the stones on this wall are big, heavy stones. This wall has probably been there since the American Revolution, you know? And so we're looking at that. Now, the last few times we've gotten there, I don't know if the government has put sensors in the ground at this location because there's a place of high strangeness. And the last two times we've gotten there, an invisible helicopter has showed up twice. Once during the day, because I like to do day night, and I like to go old school, new school, because sometimes the new school stuff don't work. And so, and I'm always talking about this invisible helicopter, but we got no video of it. So when it showed up this time, I videoed the sky to show everybody, look, I'm not making this crap up. It's a beautiful blue sky, and you can hear the helicopter, but there's nothing there, until it flies away. The last time we were there, it was so close to us that it was blowing the leaves up at us. And I tried to find it with a laser pointer, and the laser never hit anything in the sky. It just went to infinity. I don't know how that happens. But and it didn't show up on any spectrum of light we were using. And I got regular camera, I got a thermal, I got an IR, and I got a UV camera. So I got 4 cameras going, and this invisible helicopter didn't show up on any of them. Now, I've heard stories of helicopters that are quiet, that don't make any noise, but you can see them. I've never heard stories of helicopters you can hear but you can't see. So it's just, so I wanted to film it just to prove to everybody that this really is happening. And it's like, as soon as we get there, 10 minutes later, the helicopter shows up. And I think what it's doing when it shows up, it's zapping my digital voice recorders, because the first time it showed up, the voice recorder said error. The second time it showed up, the voice recorder said, what did it say? I forgot. It had another technical term to it. And this time when it showed up and we went to look for the files, all the files were scrambled. They all had wrong dates on it. I don't know how they do it, but we sat in the car for an hour looking for those files. They should have been the last ones on the recorder, and they were nowhere to be found. So anyway, we're up at the sacred site, and the Dog Man Den is on the east side of the woods, on the east side of the lake. I don't go to the Dog Man Den anymore. I went there once. He came to my house twice. I don't go there. I got to deal with him now. You stay there. I'll stay here. But that particular night, soon as we got there, we just dropped our backpacks, didn't even get anything out yet. And all of a sudden, the Dog Man goes off. Now, me and Sean are scrambling for our cell phones to try to record this because all the digital voice recorders are in the backpacks. Sean's younger than me, a little faster than me. He got his recording. And if you listen to his recording, soon as you turn it on, he caught the tail end of the Dog Man going off. But then later on, the Dog Man comes back in on the second go around of the coyotes. The Dog Man comes back in, and if you listen carefully, he's in the middle of all of those coyotes. And so we're sitting up there, and we just get there, and the coyotes are going crazy. It sounds like it's a pack of 30 of them. And he's like, do we need to worry about these coyotes coming up here? And I was like, no, nothing is coming up here, because this is the sacred site and this is the Sasquatch territory, and those coyotes aren't coming up here, and the Dog Man's not coming up here. Don't worry about the Dog Man, because we're not going to his side of the lake. But I felt like that night when he screamed, he was screaming at me for being back in the woods, But I've been to this site 100 times since the Dog Man came to my house. So anyway, we're sitting there and we're recording the night. We're doing all kinds of stuff. And I put some cat balls out, the kind that glow when you touch them, that light up. And I put some EMF meters out, and I put the glow sticks out. And it was a pretty quiet night. There wasn't really much happening there at that point. So it was getting really, really cold. So my cousin was really starting to freeze. The kid's got no meat on his body, so he's freezing. I'm wearing a down vest, and he's like shivering, And so I said, okay, we'll hike out of here. We've been here for about 6 hours, and it's a pretty quiet night for nights at this particular location. Now, there's also a ghost train that goes by, but I'm kind of thinking now that it may not actually be a ghost train, but the Sasquatch is mimicking a train going by, because I know for a fact that the train doesn't run on the tracks there anymore. Spoke to the state police, and they said there's no train that runs on that track. So I'm thinking maybe it's it's either a ghost train, or B, it's the Sasquatch is mimicking the train. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. So anyway, it's a pretty quiet night. Again, it's Halloween, right after Halloween. Maybe it was the 1st of November. I don't remember. And so I says to my cousin, I said, okay, you're cold. Let's head out. So we hiked down a mile down the mountain to get to the Appalachian Trail. We get to the Appalachian Trail. We're both carrying like 60-pound packs, because I got so much crap in my bag that you never know what you're gonna need. And I hate to be that guy who has it, but needs it but doesn't have it. You know what I mean? So I carry way too much crap with me. And we get down to the Appalachian Trail, and we're on a little hill. And next to this little hill is a stone wall that runs along the western ridge, the western part of the sacred site. It runs through the woods, and we go down this little hill, and we're walking along the lake, and we get to like the spot where Sean goes, "Hey, isn't this the spot where that bear Sqautch threw that giant stone at us?" And I'm sitting there, we're talking. I go, "Yeah, but I'm still facing forward, and Sean's facing forward, and you got to be really careful on this part of the Appalachian Trail, because it's like a goat trail, and man, if you go down, you'll break your head open, or you'll break your knee, your arm. It's all jagged stones, and it's really not a trail at all, to be honest with you. But they call it the Appalachian Trail. But
What
as
state is that?
New York, we're in New York.
New York.
Yeah. And so we're walking, and all of a sudden, the dog man shows up behind us. He's up on the hill, and he's looking down at us, and he just screams this blood curdling scream. I mean, I don't know if you ever heard one dog man go off, but they have a unique tone to their voice, and it goes right through my cousin Sean, and it goes right through me. And I turn around and look at Sean, and Sean's looking at me, and he's like, "Dog man." I'm like, "Dog man." So listen, we both turn around. I told him, I said, "You put your headlamp on flood, so we light up a lot of it. I'll put mine on spot, because our headlamps go like 700 feet. They're really powerful headlamps." So he puts his on flood. I put mine on spot, and I'm looking for eye shine. I'm looking for anything, and I'm looking in the flood light where he's got his. And I don't know if the dog man jumped behind the stone wall after it screamed at us, or if it jumped off onto the side of the mountain that was facing the lake, and he was hiding against the stone. But I didn't see any eye shine, and I didn't see any creature standing there. But it was right there. It was only about 50 feet behind us when it screamed. It wasn't like the scream was coming from the other end of the woods, because we felt the breath go through us, and the vibration, and just go right through us. And I turned to Sean, and I said, "Okay, it's a 4.5 mile hike out at this point." And I'm like, "We're gonna hike out of here tonight, and we're not gonna stop. And we're just going to keep going, because I don't want this thing to flank us." And normally every 2 miles, I'll stop, take a breather, get some water, and take a rest, because I'm an old man, and he's like, "If you think you can do it, let's do it," And I said, "Oh, we're going to do it tonight." You know what I mean? I don't want this thing to flank me, because if it flanks us, there's only one way out, and we're going to have to fight our way out. And I don't know how many more dog men are with this one particular one. Is it just him and his mate, or is it a whole pack? I don't know. But I know who I'm dealing with. This is the same guy that came to my house. He's not happy. I'm in the woods. Even though I'm not on his side of the lake, he's not happy. He's either he's scented me or he seen my energy signature. I don't know what it was, but he wasn't happy. So we're hiking out and we're hiking out, and this dog man is following us for about 3 miles. He followed us, and we get to like the mouth of the lake, and that's where the dog man stopped following, because from there out to the ranger station is only like a mile. So we're walking out, and as we're walking, and this is a true story, hand to God, we're walking out. I see yellow eye shine in the woods, about 25 feet deep in the woods, at about the 5-6 foot level. So I stop and I turned to Sean and I said, "Put your headlamp over there. Tell me what you see." And he goes, "I see yellow eye shine." I go, "Me too." I go, "How tall do you think that is?" He goes, "About 5 or 6 feet." I said, "So that could be a dog man sitting on his hunches, you know?" So I said, "Sean, take out your machete, take out my machete, and we'll just keep walking." I said, "If it's a deer, it'll turn and it'll run into the woods, it'll hightail it out of there, put up."
Yeah.
And so as we're getting closer, this thing starts to walk out onto the mining road. And now it's standing directly in front of us. And it's not a dog man. It's the biggest buck you ever seen in your life. Okay. And it's got the biggest rack on his head. And it's looking at us. But it's looking at us. And this is, I swear to God, it's looking at us like it wants to tell us something. Like it has something to say. And I'm looking at this thing, and Sean's looking at this thing, and we're both laughing hysterical because deers don't act like this. It's
Yeah.
not supposed to come out and meet you and have a conversation with you. And we're both laughing at it. And I go, "Sean, what are you feeling?" He goes, "Man," he goes, "cuz I feel like this thing wants to tell us something." I go, "Yeah, me too. That's what I'm feeling." So I said, "Well, you know what? Let's just keep walking and see what happens." And as we're getting closer. It's just looking at us right in our eyes, not blinking, just looking at us. And at one point, it decides to walk across the mining road to the other side of the woods. So as we're getting up to it, it stops, it turns around, and it comes back out, and it looks at us again. And I turned to Sean. I said, "I don't know if this thing is trying to communicate with us telepathically, but I'm not getting anything. Are you getting anything?" And he's like, "I'm not getting anything either." And I think it was because we were laughing so hard that we couldn't focus on whatever this thing was trying to tell us. You know what I mean? Because there's no way this was a big buck. There's just no way. I got herds of deer in my backyard every single night that we feed. And if I open the sliding glass door, they all run away 100 miles an hour. You know what I mean? And I've been feeding them for 30 years. So we get to the car, and I call the psychic up, and I was like, we explained to her what happened. And I tell her what happened, and she's like, "Yeah, that wasn't a deer." I said, "What was it?" She goes, "It was an elemental from the woods, and it was there to guide you guys out so that the dog man wouldn't attack you." And she's telling me that because this thing came out of the woods, it was the reason why the dog man turned and went back towards his den. I don't know how true that is. I take her for what she says, because I've used her for a dozen years now, and she's always right. So I just take her for what she tells me. So we go home, and it was the weirdest night in our lives. But we did get video of the down wall. We did get video of the nest that we found. We did get video of the invisible helicopter. We did get audio of the dogmen and the coyotes howling. So, it was as far as nights go at the location, it was a slow night, but we still captured a lot of stuff. And we probably should have videotaped this weird looking deer looking at us. but it just didn't make any sense to us, and we were laughing so hard that we forgot all about the dog man. You know what I mean? If the dog man was creeping up on us, he could have got us both. But so that was that. That was some of the video and everything I sent to you. And if you want to post it later on, that's fine with me. And then as far as the UFO stuff goes, unless you got any questions,
Uh, you think it might have been what they call a skinwalker instead of deer?
No, because we had a skinwalker follow us there one time as well. We had a skinwalker and a Wendigo follow us, and it didn't look like a skinwalker or a Wendigo. No, absolutely no. It had a weird energy to it. It didn't have a negative energy to it. It didn't have a dark energy to it. It just had this weird energy. It was just, I mean, whatever energy it was giving off, it was making us to laugh hysterical, you know, like
Yeah.
we were on laughing gas, it was ridiculous. One minute I'm worried about getting killed by a dog man, and the next minute this thing is standing in front of us and we're laughing like two kids at the dentist who just got laughing gas. So it was crazy. It was a crazy, crazy night. And yeah, no, the nests were very, very cool. I think that was the whole purpose of going there that day, was to find the nest, because like I said, I had never found nests that were holes dug into the ground where you could sit in and look out over the sacred site, and if someone came over the first ridge onto the high plateau, you would see them. And then if you just leaned back in the hole, they wouldn't be able to see you.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought that was very, very interesting. I believe that was the whole reason why we I was meant to go there, and find that. I never found anything like that before. I've been in, like I said, I've been in one of those, what I'll call an eagle's nest on the ground, and I've been in a structure. They both had bedding in it. I've actually been in a dog man's den too, um, because I'm stupid and I crawled into one, and I could have been killed, but um, I didn't feel like there was anything there. I wasn't feeling anything negative or any energy that was dangerous to me. So I just went in. No, none of the other guys would go in. So I was the only one who went in that, but I never found a Bigfoot den. Like I said, I felt like the vibe I got was that these were day beds, and that the clan would lay up there during the day on the high ridge, looking over everything. Maybe one of them would stay awake, or a scout or something, and just watch over the clan while they slept. And like I said, if anything came over that ridge onto the high plateau, they would be able to see him easily. Oh, you know what else happened that night? When we went back around at the end of the night to pick up all the equipment, the EMF meters and the cat balls and the glow sticks. The cat ball that was on our right side, that ran along that western wall, that northern wall, the cat ball was gone. And it would have taken something with a really big hand to cover that for me not to be able to see it light up when it moved. And, my cousin was like, well, maybe it rolled off the rock. And I was like, if it would have rolled off the rock, we would have seen the light up. So we put our headlamps on and we searched all around the stone, but it didn't make any sense because the EMF meter was still there and the glow stick was still there. The only thing that was missing was the cat ball. So something came in and took one of the cat balls, must have came in from above and just maybe belly crawled down along the behind the wall until where it got where it wanted to get, and then just reached over and grabbed the ball, but I
Yeah.
lost the cat ball that night, but that was all I lost, thank God.
Well,
But
if that's all you lost, you're doing good.
yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, they only cost a couple of dollars on Amazon, so I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. But But the UFO thing, now the UFO thing is pretty weird. We were getting ready to sit down and watch TV, and my wife was getting ready to close the curtains on the windows, the bay window or the bow window, whatever it is, that faces south. And when she went to close the curtain, she seen like this gold star shining in the sky. And she says to me, she says, "Hey, hon, what do you think this is?" So where I sit on the couch, I would have never seen it.
I
So I
got a
got up.
picture of it up now.
Okay. So when I got up and looked and I seen like this gold star in the sky, I said, "Oh, it's probably Venus. It's always Venus, you know." That's what everybody says. It's always Venus. So I said, "Let me go outside and see." I have a couple of apps on my phone that I use when I skywatch in my backyard at night in the summer. I got a constellation app and I got a planet app. So I went out there and I lined up all the constellations and nothing lined up with this thing. So then I hit all the planets and nothing lined up with it. So I was like, okay, this is pretty weird. It's not a constellation. It's not a planet. It's really low and it's like looks like a gold star. I took out my camera because all of my equipment was packed in my Jeep because we were going squatching the next day. So I didn't have all of my high tech stuff. All I had was my cell phone. So I took out my phone and I'm filming it. And when you enlarge it on your phone to look at it, I know this sounds weird, but I swear to God, to me, this is what it looks like. It looks like a germ underneath a microscope, but it's spinning counterclockwise and it's changing colors. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the first night. So then it comes back a week later, and I'm sitting out there and I'm filming it again because I want to prove to myself that this is the same craft. When I enlarge it, if it looks exactly like the other one, I know it's the same craft. I actually took a still shot of it the first night, and to me, the still shot looks like a triangle craft with an orb in the middle or a globe or something, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and every time you look at this thing through a different camera, it looks different. So call my wife out and I said, I have these high powered binoculars that I use when I go to the range because I'm old. I can't see 300 yards downfield, right? So I get these high powered binoculars. So I told my wife, "Say, yeah, look at it through these binoculars. Tell me what you see." So she looked at it and she says, "Oh, it looks like a squid." I go, "Looks like a squid? What are you talking about?" She goes, "Yeah, it's got tentacles hanging down." And I'm like, "Get the hell out of here." So I grabbed the binoculars from her and I look, and now I look at it and it does. But when I looked at it, the tentacles weren't hanging down. The tentacles were like this. And I was like, "This is crazy." This thing is every time you look at it, it changes shape. So then it came back the third week. Now, the third week, I'm ready. I got all my high tech cameras set up on all the tripods, right? And I'm filming with my IR camera, and I'm filming with my UV camera, and I'm filming with my with this phone, and I'm filming with my thermal. And it appeared in every spectrum of light except thermal. It wasn't giving any heat off. It was invisible in the night sky in thermal. And I was like, how can I see in every other spectrum but not thermal? Thermal is the one spectrum you expect to see everything because you just assume everything gives off heat, but this thing was not giving off any heat, and it was not in any spectrum of light. So I was like, okay, this is pretty wild. I'm glad I had everything set up tonight. So then next week comes and actually shows up. That every time I've seen this, it's been between 6:30 and 8 o'clock at night. It's always outside. It's always cold. So one morning I get up, 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30. I'm leaving to go to work. I do armed security, and I'm leaving to go to work. And the little voice in my head says, "Look up." And I look up, and there it is. Now, I've never seen it in the morning before. This is the first time. But it's 4:30 in the morning, and I'm tired. I haven't had my first cup of coffee yet, so I just look up at it. I go, "How you doing? I got no time for you. I got to go to work." Right? So the little voice in the back of my head says, "Stop. This is important. Film this." So I take out my phone and I start filming. I don't know why I'm filming. The little voice told me to film. I'm filming, and then the little voice says to me, "Ask it telepathically to give you a sign. See if it can hear your thoughts." So I said, "Wow, that's a pretty interesting concept." So I said, telepathically, I said, "If you can hear me, give me a sign." And it flashed me. And I was like, holy crap, this thing can hear my thoughts, you know? And what I thought was just a quick flash, when I got to work and showed my partner, it wasn't a quick flash at all. This thing expands to like 20 times its regular size, and then it shrinks back down, you know? It's not like it's just a flash. It goes boop, boop like that. And I thought that was like the craziest thing at all. So I posted all of this stuff on the BPS page, and Paranormal caught on camera, seen it, and they called me up and they were like, "Dude, we want to use your UFO thing on our show for next season." And I told them, I said,
Is that
"Okay."
the one where it was on the highway?
No, oh, well, it sounded like a highway, right? Yeah, there was a lot of traffic. I live off of a main intersection. It wasn't on a highway. It's the last video I sent you. You'll see the big flash, and it really expands. If you play it, you'll see how it expands and then it shrinks down again. But yeah, there was a lot of traffic that morning for some reason in front of my house. But they
Well, I
call.
was this uh, Val in chat. She said she liked listening to the UFO while on the highway, and Bristol likes your story from Florida.
Oh yeah, that's the my first Bigfoot sighting when I was a kid. Yeah, that was crazy. But so anyway, listen to this. This gets really strange. So a week goes by and the craft shows up again, right? Now I go outside and I'm looking at it and I'm like, how many times am I going to film the same thing? You know what I mean? I'm not filming you tonight. But I had a thought. I got a 1500 luma flashlight. I said, I'm going to do a Morse code and see if we can get it to do the Morse code back. So I'm hitting it with this 1500 luma flashlight, and this thing is bright as hell. And I'm doing an SOS. That's what I'm doing, right? An SOS.
Yeah.
And it starts to come in a little bit and it stops. And then out of nowhere, hand to God, out of nowhere, the craft either disappears and flies off, but where the craft is, a Cessna airplane comes out from behind it. Now, if you know anything about Cessnas, we have a local airport up here. Cessnas are like crop dusters. You can hear them a mile away. Okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear this thing until the UFO disappeared and it showed up. It looked like it came out from right behind the UFO. Okay. Now
Yeah.
this thing is flying over my house, directly over my house. And I'm thinking to myself, is this really a Cessna plane or is this a UFO putting the Cessna plane in my head? Right. But then I
Yeah.
say, I don't care. I'm going to keep the SOS on it the whole time I see it. And it flies off northeast towards like Massachusetts up towards Boston. And it flies off and it makes that Cessna sound, that crop duster sound all the way as it flies away. So I go back in the house and I close the door and I'm saying, okay, if this was a Cessna and that pilot knows anything about SOSs, he should have pinged my location and someone should show up at my house, either the county police or the state police, right? Someone
Yeah.
should show up to find out what's going on. Why are you doing an SOS to the planes?
Yeah.
No one ever shows up. No one shows up. Not the county, not the state. and I don't know what that was all about, but I'm telling you, I've never experienced that before, where the craft is right there, and the next thing you know, a Cessna is coming out from behind it. I don't know if the UFO changed into a Cessna. I don't know if the UFO disappeared and flew away. I don't know where the Cessna came from. I can't explain any of it, but it was the craziest shit, man.
You was talking about the eclipse on the 29th. We're supposed to have one in the morning. Are you
Oh,
going
are
to try
we?
and catch that one?
Probably not, because I don't know what the 29th is, what day it is, you know. So I don't know if
It'll
I'm
be
working.
Saturday.
Yeah, I'm working Saturday, so I'll be at work at 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So no, I won't be able to get there to do anything with it. But the only reason why I wanted to do the one in 2024 is because there were two opposites both happening in the same month, and it's so rare. And I like to do, when I go out, I like to do a lot of environmental readings.
Yeah.
I do like 250 environmental readings as soon as I get to the location, and I document everything. And then I start incorporating stuff into the atmosphere, and I see how the readings change. And then I do the same readings again when it gets dark, and see how the readings change. And then I'll incorporate something else in at night and see how the readings change. And I know when the Sasquatches come down off the high ridge and they start to circle us and surround us, the energy changes, you know, everything changes. The energy of the location changes. They change the energy. And, I got a few tricks up my sleeve to bring them in, So I kind of, if I'm having a dull night and nothing's happening, I'll pull out the bag of tricks and stuff. And I would have done it that night that I was there with my cousin, but he was so cold, his teeth were chattering. I said, okay, let's just get the hell out of here, not even thinking about the dogman that happened earlier in the night, but I'm I'm convinced, I'm convinced that the government has either put sensors in the ground at this location or are monitoring this location for maybe with a satellite, because as soon as we get there now, this has happened 3 times in a row. As soon as we get there, the helicopter shows up. Now, I've been going there for 10 years, and this never happened before, you know? So I'm thinking they're watching this area, and I haven't had anybody come up there at night and tell me to leave. Like I said, it's off the beaten trail, off the Appalachian Trail, and I've done enough research to know that, you can hike the Appalachian Trail 24/7, 365 days a year, and you can camp off the trail. You can't camp at the lake, but you can camp off the trail. So I know that there's not an issue with me being there. Technically I'm okay, but I don't know if somebody's monitoring it or what, man. It seems like, and they're killing me with my digital voice recorders, because the voice recorders keep getting zapped. One said corrupted, and one said something else. I don't know. It's just, and the last one all the files got shuffled on me. I don't know how they do this, but it's absolutely nuts, But this location is really. I have like 5 different locations, but this is like the main one I go to when I want to do day night, because I can get into it easy because it's on the Appalachian Trail. And I could park at the trailhead, and my car could be there for a week and no one would bother it because it's legal to park there,
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about getting it towed away or getting ticketed or anything like that, So, but yeah, and that's um that last expedition that we went out to, and those UFO videos that I've caught in front of my house. It's crazy because I caught that at the end of October, But in the beginning of October, I was invited to the Western Connecticut UFO conference to do a talk, and I did it. I talked. I did it like an hour presentation at the conference, but I didn't have any of these videos to show. Would have been nice if this would have happened before the conference, so I could have
Yes.
showed them. But then maybe next year, if I get invited back, I'll show them next year. But yeah, pretty wild stuff. And then right after that, we had all those drones happen up here in New Jersey and New York, and people were calling me to asking me what the hell's going on, and I was like, listen, the government knows what's going on. This is not happening without the government knowing. I said, if I had to take a wild guess, I'm going to guess that the military has got some new technology that they want to test out on the general public, and that's why all these drones are up there. And this is not an invasion from outer space, and this is not the Chinese people attacking us. I said, this is your government playing with technology that they're not supposed to use on civilians, but they're using it. And turned out to be exactly what they were doing,
Yeah.
Yeah, they knew all the time. Of course they did.
Well,
Got any questions about UFOs, about anything, like we were talking before about the upside down trees with the root balls in the air,
yeah, I've actually called a few lumber companies, timber companies today to find out if they did turn trees upside down. They say they do not.
No.
But I have heard that the old time loggers would do it in swampy areas to mark them. So, but they
Yeah.
don't do it no more, apparently.
I got a friend who owns a logging company, and I've asked him about that, and he's never run into one in all the years he's been logging, and he's been doing it 30 years. But he has locations where he does logging where Bigfoots are at, and he's like, you got to come with me one day when I go up there to mark, because he doesn't cut the trees, he just marks them, and then his guys go up and cut them. And he said, we'll bring our guns and we'll do some shooting. He goes, but I'm telling you, every time I go up there and I'm walking through the woods by myself and I'm marking trees, he goes, something is following me. I stop, it stops. He goes, I feel like I have eyes on me all the time. He goes, I know they're watching me. I said, yeah, they're watching you because you're cutting down all their trees. But he's never seen one. But I've seen one, only one. And when we found it, we thought it was pretty strange that it was upside down, because it was at a location that was really creepy location. It was a cemetery for an abandoned insane asylum, and they didn't have headstones. All they had were crosses with numbers on it,
Yeah.
And again, I like to go day night. And when we got there right away during the day, something attached to me, and something was looking through my eyes at life again. And my partner, he knew it. He called me on it. He kept telling me, you don't look like you don't sound like you're not acting like you. And I'm like, I can hear myself talk. I can see myself in the mirror. I look like me. I sound like me. I don't know what you're talking about. But I was in denial because I knew something had attached to me. But I also knew it wasn't anything dark, because I protect myself wherever I go out, And then when we found this tree, I was being pulled into the woods. We were leaving to go get dinner, and we were going to come back at night because we had done our day investigation, and we were going to come back. And as we were leaving, I got pulled off into the woods. And when we got into the woods, we found this giant tree upside down, And of course, like everybody else, we just thought we were in Bigfoot country, because this cemetery It's not like any cemetery you've ever seen. It's, a mile into the woods. There's no signs for it. There's no parking lot for it. I mean, I thought I was going to a local cemetery. I didn't bring any weapons with me. I didn't know I was going to have to hike into the woods and all of that. And all we had on us was pepper spray that I happened to have in the car. And but that night we heard the dog man go off, and the dog man. And at one point, when we were going into the woods and we found this structure, we took photographs of it. My partner started walking past me like he was getting pulled deeper in, and I told him, I said, "Stop! I feel like we're being drawn into a trap," because we were on all these giant stones, and you really had to watch where you walked so you didn't break your ankle or your leg. And I was like, if we got to run out of here, we're dead. You can't run on this crap. We're going to kill ourselves. So I said, let's get out of here. And we left, and we heard the dog man. As a matter of fact, there were a lot of dogs in that neighborhood that were going off that night. But when the dog man went off, all those dogs shut right up, And we ended up walking right up on the dog man because I had parked my Jeep, underneath a street light off the main road because I didn't know if I could park on the road. And there was like a hiking trail that ran up into the woods. And I just assumed it was a trail where, people jog or hike during the day or jog. So I parked my car under this Jeep under the street light. And as we were leaving late in the woods that night, we had our headlamps on. We seen eye shine behind my car, yellow eye shine, again at the 6-foot level. And we're both looking at it. I stopped my partner, Brian. I said, dude, do you see that? He goes, yeah, I see that. I go, let's hope it's a deer. And it runs away when we get closer. So as we're getting closer, it's not running away. We get right up to the back of the Jeep. I'll tell them we're doing a sonic boom theory. Oh, I don't know. Manipulation theory. I don't know about the sonic boom and the manipulation theory. But as we're getting closer to the Jeep, we get to the Jeep. This thing doesn't run away. So the vibe I get is that this thing is hunting that trail. This is not a deer. This is a predator, and he's hunting that trail. Now, maybe he thinks there's some yuppie running up and down the mountain at night, and it's going to be an easy kill. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe he's just waiting for deer to come down the trail. I don't know. But we were the only two idiots out there that night, and it stood there. And as we're throwing the gear in the back of the Jeep, I got the Jeep door open. My partner has to go and take a piss. And I was like, dude, get in the car and we'll drive on the other side of the road and you could piss on that side of the road. And he's like, no, you don't understand. If I don't piss now, I'm going to piss in your car. So he starts pissing and he's pissing and he's taking this piss that seemed like it went on for an hour, right? And I'm watching this dog man in behind the bushes, watching him. And all of a sudden, the dog man went down like on a belly crawl. And I don't know if it shut its eyes and it was just hunting him by scent, but he was crawling towards my partner and I couldn't see it anymore. And the minute I lost sight of it, I started to freak out. So I jumped in the Jeep and I backed up all the way. I almost hit him pissing against the tree. And I swung the door open on the passenger side. And I said, get in now or I'm leaving you here, because this thing is hunting you. And he got the heebie-jeebies. He felt it too. And he jumped in the car and we Dukes of Hazzarded out of there, you know what I mean? Before I swear to God, we threw up a lot of dirt when we what do you call that? Rooster-tailed out of there when we got out of there, man, because that thing was hunting him. And if he would have took like another 2 minutes, this thing would have had him. And I was like, I couldn't convince him to go on the other side. I said, let's put this whole road between us. Let's put this Jeep between you and this thing. You stand on that side of the Jeep. You have the road, the Jeep. You're much safer than just turning your back to this thing and pissing against a tree, you know? But he swore up and down he had to go right then and there. And I was like,
Well,
okay.
I know that feeling too. So
I know, but when your life is in peril and you don't have anything to defend yourself but pepper spray, um, if this thing would have jumped out of those bushes onto his back, there was nothing I could have done to save him. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I couldn't convince him to get his fat ass in the truck. I said, get in the truck. I'm going to leave you. And he's like, no, you're not going to leave me. What are you going to tell my wife about Dog Man killing me? And I was like, get in the goddamn truck. Oh, man, that was crazy. And that was at, like I said, so that upside down tree was in the woods that was adjacent to that insane asylum cemetery. You know what I mean? So I'm sure there was a lot of dark energy there, you know? We got a growl. We're walking along the cemetery. We got what sound like a growl right in between both of us on my camcorder. You heard. Rrr. Then on the camcorder, I had the camcorder on a tripod. We were filming. You heard what sound like a horse and wagon riding across cobblestone road. And I'm wondering, was this what they used to bring these insane people here to bury them? Did they bring them here on a horse and wagon? You know what I mean? Because
May have been.
you hear the clacking of hooves. You hear the wheels, like wooden wheels, going over cobblestones. It was crazy. Yeah, I mean, and it, you know, and it was nothing but mountain woods, you know, grass and woods. So there was no cobblestones there. There were no dirt road. There was no horses, you know, no wagons. It was nuts, man. Yeah, that's crazy. But I mean, that's the only time in my life, all the times that I've spent in the woods, that I ever seen that tree like that, you know? And again, and I was shocked. I was really shocked to think that, wow, the dog men do it too. I would have bet my bottom dollar that it was Sasquatch territory, you know? But I guess it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to discuss?
Well, you was talking about the Dogman Howl, where we camped down here near Silicaga. We had the Woodwalkers down there. We've had Mark Green and his group did a camp out down there.
Okay.
And Blue Eyed Northerner Pat, as everybody knows her.
Yeah.
She recorded some of the howls from down there.
Oh, awesome.
One of them was a canine type howl, which is one I also heard with my ears. And we had a couple of other times down there that, you know, we didn't know for sure it was Dogman, but I think it was. And then there's another growl howl that was definitely not a Dogman. And I heard a one that sounded like I don't know, the big. It would sound like a Bigfoot howl, growl type voice, but it was doing the canine howl up near Fort McClellan up here.
Okay.
So I was coming down the road and that one blasted through the car on me, and I tried to stop and record it on my phone. By the time I stopped, it was gone, but I still had the creepy feeling from it.
Yeah, and a lot of Bigfoot howls when they do that siren howl where they go ooh like that in the beginning, it will sound like almost like a Dogman howl until it gets to the end, you know. Or it'll sound like a coyote too, you know. But that's a lot of times a lot of people will mistaken that siren howl for a Dogman howl. But you know, you could tell at the end, what it is, that it's a Bigfoot, but yeah, I mean, I've heard the rake scream in the woods. I've heard the Wendigo scream in the woods. Um, and they kind of sound like a bobcat or a mountain lion, or what the famous one is a woman screaming in the middle of the woods
Yeah.
at night. You know what I mean? I've heard that woman screaming in the middle of the woods on a couple of occasions, and one time it turned out to be a Wendigo, and one time it turned out to be uh, what do you call that? What do they call those guys? I just said the word. I can't think of it now. We used to call them ghouls back in the old days. You know what I mean? A
Yeah.
rake. They call them rakes now. I think they even call them night crawlers now. I think they gave them a new name too. So they keep changing the name on me, and I can't keep up with all the different names. But so when you hear those things in the woods, man, it's creepy. I watch a lot of creepy shows, and like and I hear people camping in the woods and stuff, and they'll hear those screams, and they'll freak out thinking it's something unnatural. But most of the time, it's either a mountain lion or a bobcat or a fox or something. But they're just not familiar with it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it's creepy stuff, man. I mean, there's a lot of creepy things out there. I tell all my friends, especially my friends who are Sqautches, when you go into the woods, protect yourself physically and spiritually, because there's a lot of stuff in those woods, and anything can attach itself to you. And then when you bring that home, it may jump off of you and jump onto someone else, that energy that it likes better. You know what I mean? And unknowingly you can get somebody possessed. It could be your wife, could be your kids. So always protect yourself spiritually, because there's a lot of shit in the woods. What's Bristol saying? Ray Foxes put out a scream. Yeah, exactly like that. Yep, exactly. Yeah. And I laugh when I watch these shows about people camping in the woods and they get run out, because it's just so funny that they have no clue. A lot of them don't have no clue what the animals in their areas sound like. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And let's face it, if you're not familiar with it, it's a creepy sound. And if you're
Yeah.
by yourself in the middle of the woods and you're just in a tent by yourself, that could freak you out.
Well, where I was living up here in Heflin, I heard some screams out there at night, and I figured it was either the mountain lion or the fox or the bobcat doing it,
Yeah.
because it sounded like it was coughing up a hairball, and it went on for like an hour or so.
Yeah. Wow. It's a long time. Yeah.
And then I heard a peacock out there. That kind of freaked me out a little bit. This
Oh,
first time I
yeah.
heard it.
Peacocks are, yeah, they got a weird sound too. Absolutely, yeah. I haven't heard one in a long time, but we don't have a lot of them here in New York. But we used to have a game farm up here called the Catskill Game Farm, and they used to have them just walking around. And when the kids were small, we would go up there in the summer, and they make some strange noises too. The peacocks, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know there was any peacocks anywhere near me up there. Uh, but we saw a blue one and a brown one both walking across our property one day.
Just
And
wild peacocks.
no, this people way over on the backside of the far
Oh,
woods over
okay.
there, they had them and they got out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And from after we seen them, we started hearing them. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's like I said, if you're not familiar with the sounds in the wood, then these local animals can really freak you out, especially if you're by yourself and you're in the middle of the woods, especially like a haunted woods, and then you
yeah,
start hearing these crazy noises and stuff. Like if I was at the woods that it was adjacent to that cemetery, and I started hearing crazy noises, and I was by myself, and I didn't know, I couldn't identify them, I'd probably get the hell out of there too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, my mother and stepfather, they both seen both a mountain lion and a black panther come down our driveway, walk right by the trailer we lived in. And I got a picture of a bobcat on my trail camera, and I've had as many as 12 fox in the backyard and 6 coyotes at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And I've seen a black panther in 2 different places, with one on Highway 78 between Anniston and Oxford, down there at the sod farm, and the other one was in Heflin on the other side of the railroad tracks from where we live. So, yeah, they were there, but the game warden said they wasn't. I got
No, yeah, the game wardens will never admit to it. I told people 10 years ago that New York had mountain lions, and everybody said I was crazy until they started showing up on the cameras on on the parkway. They have those like radar cameras and stuff, for catch speeders, and they started showing up on those traffic cam cameras, and I told everybody too. I said, don't be surprised if the wolves are back in New York State now too, as well, because I have a funny feeling the wolves will be back in New York, are back in New York. And I also made a prediction that in a year or two from now, the bull sharks will be back up in the Hudson River as well.
Well, we've made an hour and 11 minutes.
Okay.
And, I just got some food brought in.
Okay. I'll let you eat dinner. All right. Well, thank you for having me on, Wendell. It was my pleasure to be here. I appreciate it very much. And anytime you want me, brother, you just reach out and you got me.
All right. I do appreciate it. I'm very honored to have you on my show.
I'm a nobody, just a regular guy. That's all I am. Thank you very much. Good night, my friend.
Good night.